This is Kevin Jiang, a fitness enthusiast, Army veteran, and Yale graduate student. On February 6, 2021, just moments after leaving his fiancée's home, Kevin's car was hit from behind. Seconds later, he was attacked. His fiancée heard the gunshots, but dismissed them, unaware of what had just happened. Soon after, neighbors called 911, but Kevin was pronounced dead at the scene. Witnesses reported seeing someone in a dark SUV fleeing the area. At the scene, police found only one clue: multiple .45 caliber shell casings scattered on the ground. Now, a killer was on the loose, and no one had any idea where he went.
New at 10, a killer on the loose. Police investigating tonight who is responsible for the death of a Yale graduate student.
What authorities didn't yet realize was that they were dealing with someone far more calculated than they had anticipated. A brilliant mind hiding behind a quiet facade. And the more they looked, the more troubling the pattern became. This wasn't the first shooting in the area. In the months leading up to Kevin's death, there had been 4 others. 2 of them involved the same caliber rounds and the same unsettling quiet in their aftermath. Investigators examined Kevin's car. On the back bumper, they found a faint impression from a license plate. No number, no match, no trail to follow. But while the investigation deepened, the question that lingered for many was not just who committed the crime, but who was lost in it.
Mr. TrueCrime.
Kevin Jiang was born on February 14, 1994 in Iowa City, Iowa, to immigrant parents from China, Jen Linda Liu and Mingchen Jiang. After his parents divorced, he moved with his mother to Chicago. He was 26 years old, quiet and introspective, grounded deeply in his Christian faith. After enduring bullying in school, Kevin found strength in his church community and became active in his local Baptist congregation. His academic journey began at North Seattle College before transferring to the University of Washington, where he graduated in 2016. Driven by a desire to serve both people and the planet, Kevin joined the U.S. Army National Guard. He rose to the rank of second lieutenant and served as an environmental scientist, tank operator, and engineering officer. By 2019, he was pursuing a master's degree in environmental science at Yale. Kevin volunteered regularly outside class at a local homeless shelter and Trinity Baptist Church in New Haven. He was expected to graduate in mid-2021. Life was unfolding just as Kevin had hoped. Just weeks before he was murdered, Kevin had proposed to his girlfriend, Zion Perry. They met at Yale and quickly bonded over shared values: faith, service, and science.
Zion. You married?
Oh, Kevin! Oh, wow! Oh, yes, definitely. Wow, this is so pretty. Wow! Wow! Oh!
He had just begun building the life he had long envisioned. On the evening of February 6, 2021, Kevin Jiang spent the day with his fiancée. They went hiking, ice fishing, and ended the day with dinner at her apartment in New Haven's East Rock neighborhood. Around 8:30 p.m., Kevin said goodbye and got into his Toyota Prius, heading home. He lived just a few minutes away with his mother. But he could not make it far. Just 2 blocks from Zion's place, a black SUV rammed into the back of Kevin's car. It was a light collision, barely a dent. The SUV pulled back. Kevin stepped out of his Prius, likely to check on the driver and exchange information. He walked up to the other car. That's when the shots rang out. Kevin was shot 8 times. 2 bullets hit him almost immediately. The rest followed as the gunman stepped out of the SUV and stood over him, firing at point-blank range. The gunpowder burned Kevin's face.
Just after 8:30 p.m. Saturday night, police say they received multiple 911 calls reporting gunfire and a person shot in the area of Nash Street and Lawrence Street. The victim, 26-year-old Kevin Jiang. He was shot multiple times and died on scene, according to police.
Witnesses saw it happen and began calling 911. The killer didn't say a word. He got back in the SUV and vanished. In the days after his death, the outpouring of grief was overwhelming. Over 700 people attended an online vigil hosted by Yale's School of the Environment. Professors, friends, and clergy remembered a man defined by joy, resilience, and an unwavering sense of service.
I'll always remember him as being a very just welcoming and wholesome individual, and he was very proud to be a part of the Yale community.
Mary Evelyn Tucker, one of Kevin's professors, recalled a garden he planted as part of a class project. When a storm washed everything away, he didn't give up. He rebuilt it. That was Kevin. Resilient and hopeful. Professor Gabary Benoit, his academic advisor, echoed that sentiment. He's the most effective student I've ever had. He was such a bright light to be extinguished so early. His parents also attended the funeral, where they also spoke.
He gave me a lot of joy. He's a very thoughtful, warm boy, taking care of me, and I miss him.
Like you all said, he's a very charming, very friendly, very open.
Those who served alongside him remembered him as disciplined, dedicated, and deeply compassionate.
Everyone who met him said that he was so they called him Jiggity Jang because he was so energetic all the time.
In the days that followed, questions swirled. Authorities began digging into Kevin's life, searching for answers. This didn't look like a random act of violence. Many believed he had been targeted.
Additional callers reported seeing much during that day, developed information suggesting that this incident may not have been an actual random act, and that he in fact was targeted.
At first, Kevin's murder looked like a case of road rage, but detectives weren't convinced. It felt personal. They were not sure if it was staged. Was it meant to get him out of the car, or was it planned? Everything about Kevin's life spoke of discipline, service, and hope for the future. But one question lingered. Who would want him dead? Detectives Zaweski and Cunningham knew the road ahead would be difficult. Kevin Jiang's killing might have been the latest in a string of seemingly random attacks by an unidentified .45 caliber shooter. Whoever pulled the trigger was still out there. Investigators didn't know who he was, where he had gone, or what he might do next. With little to go on, just a blurry image of a dark SUV from surveillance footage, they were bracing for a long, uncertain investigation. But the following day, a breakthrough came. An urgent call came in from Sergeant Jeffrey Mills of the North Haven Police Department. 2 separate 911 reports had just been filed, and the details were strange and striking. Roughly half an hour after Kevin Jiang's murder, a 911 call came into the North Haven Police Department. It was from the yard's security guard. A motorist had gotten his vehicle stuck on a snow-covered railroad track near a scrap metal yard, a remote and confusing area where GPS often misled drivers. He said he had taken a wrong turn while looking for the highway.
I'm the security guard at Sims Metal Management. I just had somebody drive through my yard here. They didn't know where they were going, so I had been chasing them around the yard, and they just pulled way in the back off the property. It's like a black minivan, SUV type of thing.
The officer Mill responded, and the driver, Ching-Xuan Pan, was identified as 29 years old. He was from Malden, Massachusetts, and behaved calmly and cooperatively.
What are you doing back here, though?
I just got in here accidentally and I got stuck. Is there any way to get us stuck here?
The only thing I can do is call you a tow truck.
Okay, cool, thanks.
When the officer ran his license, he had a clean record and a reasonable explanation. During the encounter, Sergeant Mills noted the yellow jacket on the passenger seat. He also spotted a blue bag and a briefcase in the back seat, but little else stood out at the time. Sergeant Jeffrey Mills, familiar with similar calls from that spot, helped him arrange a tow and booked a room at a nearby hotel.
He got lost, and he thought the Jeep was probably chasing him, the security guy.
What do you recommend I do? I mean, if I can get it off the track, I prefer to drive it myself.
How about you get a hotel for the night? We'll have the tow truck drop you off at the hotel, you pay for a credit card, and you can arrange to pick up the car in the morning.
Okay, let's get the hotel then.
Yeah, let's do that.
If it is difficult.
That's probably the safest thing to do.
Okay.
At the time, Mills had no idea a murder had just occurred in New Haven. But about 15 hours later, around 11 a.m. on February 7th, Mills responded to a second 911 call. this time from employees at a nearby Arby's. They had found a bag behind the restaurant containing a gun and a box of .45 caliber bullets.
Hello, can I help you? It's the police department.
Hello. I work at Arby's here in North Haven.
Mm-hmm.
We found a gun, and probably like 10 boxes of bullets.
So when the officers arrived at the scene, they found guns with packs of bullets, but they also found something else. When Officer Mills looked at the items, he quickly recognized a few.
There were 3 bags. This one, that one, and this. Got it.
Took a better look at the bags that it came in, and here's a blue retail bag with the Massachusetts logo on it, and a small leather black briefcase, and it instantly hit me. These are the bags that were in Mr. Pan's car the night before.
The Arby's was next door to the Best Western Hotel, where Mills had dropped Pan off the night before. Also, Mills had heard about Jiang's murder by then. The description matches it, shot by someone in a dark SUV, not unlike the one Pan had been driving. So Mills contacted the New Haven Homicide Unit and relayed the information. Upon inspecting the hotel room, detectives learned that while Pan had checked into the hotel, he never stayed there. When investigators followed up in Malden at Pan's residence, where he lived with his parents and had attended MIT, no one was home. It was empty. The detective dug further into Pan's background and learned that he was born in Shanghai on April 16, 1991, and immigrated to the United States as a child. He grew up in Malden, Massachusetts, and became a U.S. citizen. From a young age, Pan stood out for his extraordinary intellect. In 2009, while attending Thomas S. Wooten High School, he represented the United States at the International Mathematical Olympiad in Bremen, Germany, where he earned a rare and prestigious silver medal. His academic path led him to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he pursued a PhD in computer science and worked as a researcher at MIT's renowned Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAIL. Colleagues and acquaintances described him as exceptionally intelligent. Some even called him a genius, but noted that he often kept to himself, socially distant and withdrawn. Back at the station, detectives began investigating Chinxuan Pan's digital footprint. They looked into his Facebook account, searching for any connection to Kevin Jiang, mutual friends, shared interests, anything that might explain a motive. At first, nothing stood out. No overlap, no mutual connections, just a long list of names that led nowhere. Initially, there was no connection between Kevin and Pan, but suddenly a detective found something that connected Kevin with Pan. It was Zion Perry, Kevin Jiang's fiancée. Detectives found her on Pan's friend list. She and Pan met years earlier as undergraduates at a Christian fellowship group at MIT. Their interaction had been brief, and Perry hadn't been in contact with him since starting graduate school at Yale. Now the police had the person of interest. Meanwhile, Kevin was laid to rest with full military honors.
1 week after he was murdered in the Elm City, Yale graduate student Kevin Jiang was laid to rest. And this comes as authorities are continuing to hunt for a person of interest. Yesterday's service at Trinity Baptist Church focused on the good that the 26-year-old Army veteran did before he died. Jiang's casket was adorned with the American flag as soldiers took time to comfort his family. Meanwhile, the search for MIT graduate student Chinxuan Pan continues. Investigators say he has been spotted in towns north of Atlanta, Georgia.
Still, for detectives, it felt like more than a coincidence. Pan had vanished, someone who may have been driven by an obsessive interest that turned violent. As investigators chased down leads, the broader Yale community was grappling with grief and growing anxiety. In the wake of the tragedy, the university released a statement to students and staff. An update regarding the murder of Kevin Jiang. Dear members of the Yale community, I am writing to update you on the investigation into Saturday night's tragic murder of Yale graduate student Kevin Jiang. At a press conference on Monday, New Haven Police Chief Otoniel Reyes informed the public that this shooting does not appear to have been random. It seems instead that Kevin was explicitly targeted in the attack. Chief Reyes further explained that based on what he knows, this attack does not represent a further danger to any part of our shared community. NHPD is actively pursuing specific leads. The investigation is a high priority, not only for the New Haven Police, but also for the state's attorney's office. This is a very active investigation, so I cannot provide details, but please be assured that law enforcement is working day and night to solve this case. You may also have read in the news that other shootings took place this weekend. With regret, I can confirm that shootings in the city are up this year, as they have been in most cities across the country. As President Salovey and I said at the press conference on Monday, Yale and New Haven will continue their close and enduring partnership on all matters of shared public safety. In the immediate term, I want to make clear that I do not perceive an increased threat to campus. That said, it is always a good idea to take precautions to keep yourself and others safe, whether crime is up or down. The statement, while meant to reassure, underscored a hard truth. A gifted young man had been murdered, apparently not at random. And the suspect, intelligent, elusive, and now personally linked to the victim's fiancée, was still out there. On the other hand, a disturbing picture was beginning to emerge for investigators. It did seem like there was a secret obsession of Pan's going on behind the scenes, one that Kevin wasn't aware of, and Zion wasn't aware of either. The timing only deepened their suspicions. Just a week before the murder, Zion Perry had shared their engagement on Facebook, along with photos of her and Kevin from earlier in their relationship. Investigators believed Pan had seen those posts, and it may have triggered something. Detectives came to believe that Jiang's murder wasn't spontaneous. It was calculated. They also began to suspect that Pan was responsible for the earlier string of .45 caliber shootings across New Haven. In those incidents, bullets had been fired into homes. No one had been hurt. No suspects had ever been identified. But now, those cases looked different. Detectives theorized that the earlier shootings weren't random at all, but part of a premeditated plan, a way to create a pattern, so that when Jiang was eventually killed, it would appear to be just another entry in a series of anonymous, senseless attacks. A smokescreen. By this point, the US Marshals also joined the search and began connecting the dots. The dark SUV, the location, the timing, the discarded weapon, and the ammo.
Bring you to the hunt now for a person of interest in the fatal shooting of a Yale graduate student Saturday night. U.S. Marshals have joined the search for a student from MIT.
Pan first became a person of interest and then a prime suspect. A warrant for his arrest followed on February 26th. New Haven police considered him armed and dangerous.
Mr. Pan should be considered armed and dangerous. Extreme caution should be used if you come in contact with this individual.
The U.S. Marshals Service issued a $5,000 reward for information leading to his capture, later increased to $10,000.
Police have increased the reward for information as they search for an MIT graduate student who they say may know something about the murder of a Yale graduate student. Investigators are now offering $10,000 for information about 29-year-old Qinshuan Pan. The victim, Kevin Jiang, was shot several times. He was found near his car just off the Yale campus in New Haven. Police say Pan, who was last seen on Thursday in Georgia, should be considered armed and dangerous.
With that clarity, the investigation shifted gears, from unraveling a murder to launching a nationwide manhunt. The suspect wasn't just brilliant. He was a PhD candidate from MIT, skilled in technology, and now on the run. Just then, investigators discovered that Pan's family had access to millions in financial assets. That changed the stakes. With the means to disappear and no sign of his whereabouts, law enforcement feared he was preparing to flee the country, and the pressure was on. As the forensic evidence began to come together, the case against Qinshuan Pan deepened. Investigators found Pan's DNA on the boxes of ammunition and the gun case discarded behind the Arby's. Inside the dark SUV he had been driving, they discovered clothing stained with blood. Traces also found in the vehicle's interior. A partial license plate imprint was recovered from the scene where Jiang's car had been struck. The plate had been stolen from another vehicle, and the impact aligned with the moment Pan's car had bumped into Jiang's. However, the pistol found with the ammunition, a Ruger SR 1911, was later ruled out as the murder weapon. Forensic testing showed it had not been used in the shooting. The actual gun was yet to be found. Despite the mounting evidence, the question of motive still loomed. No formal relationship was ever established between Pan and Zion Perry. According to Jiang's fiancée, Zion Perry, she and Pan had known each other during her time at MIT. She told investigators she suspected Pan might have been interested in her, but insisted they had never been romantically involved. As the manhunt intensified, the U.S. Marshals mobilized their expansive network and resources to track Ching-Xuan Pan. The breakthrough came not through Pan himself, but through his family. Agents discovered that Pan's parents had withdrawn large sums of cash shortly after the murder. Even more concerning, records showed they had taken an extended trip south with their son in the days following the killing. They were eventually stopped in Georgia. Pan was no longer with them. When questioned, his parents told authorities he had simply gotten out of the car and walked away, and they claimed they had no idea where he had gone. Investigators were unconvinced. Investigators believed that Pan's parents would go to the ends of the earth to help support and hide him. Believing the parents were key to locating Pan, the marshals quietly shifted their strategy, intensifying surveillance, tracking movements, and applying pressure behind the scenes. They knew it would take time and precision, but Pan couldn't stay hidden forever. Weeks passed with no sign of Ching-Xuan Pan. The marshals stayed patient, methodical, watching, waiting. Then a single misstep changed everything. Pan's mother, who had been under the radar until then, made an error. While at a hotel, she borrowed a clerk's phone to make a call. Before returning the phone to the hotel staff, she deleted the number, but authorities traced it. Investigators quickly pinpointed the number's destination: a boarding house in Montgomery, Alabama, near Alabama State University. They moved in fast. They went there with a small army, around 20 personnel, and then, in the turn of events, Pan surrendered. He just came out and said, "I'm who you're looking for." After months on the run, Ching-Xuan Pan was in custody. Unarmed, unresisting, the manhunt was over.
The nationwide manhunt for Ching-Xuan Pan has ended. Officials say the MIT alum has been arrested in Alabama. He had been sought in the shooting death of Yale University graduate student Kevin Jiang. In February, authorities in New Haven named the 29-year-old as their prime suspect in that killing and issued a warrant for his arrest. Pan's also accused of stealing an SUV from a Massachusetts dealership the day of the killing before driving to Connecticut. Jiang was found near his car on a New Haven street earlier this year, shot several times. Officials initially believed Pan was in the Atlanta area, armed and dangerous. The U.S. Marshals Service offered a reward of up to $10,000 for information leading to Pan's location and arrest.
Following Pan's arrest on May 13, 2021, in Montgomery, Alabama, law enforcement discovered he had rented the apartment under an alias. Inside, they found nearly $19,000 in cash, multiple cell phones, and his father's passport. Items that painted a clear picture of someone prepared to evade capture. Ching-Xuan Pan waived extradition and was arraigned in New Haven on May 20th. His bond was initially set at $5 million, but that didn't last. Citing his international ties, access to significant financial resources, and his arrest under a false identity after months on the run, prosecutors argued Pan was a serious flight risk. The court agreed. His bond was raised to $20 million. Still, Pan's defense team pushed back. At a brief hearing in a downtown New Haven courtroom, his lawyers argued for a reduced bail, suggesting he be allowed to post 10%, $2 million, to await trial outside of prison. They claimed his family could easily cover it. But the judge wasn't convinced. State Judge Gerald Harmon denied the request, stating plainly that Pan wasn't just a flight risk. He was potentially dangerous. Keeping him in custody, the judge said, was a matter of public safety. That decision followed a 2-day probable cause hearing, where a separate judge ruled that Pan likely committed the murder he's charged with. That ruling cleared the way for prosecutors to move forward, aiming to prove to a jury, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Pan murdered Kevin Jiang. The bail debate also unfolded against the backdrop of a recent Connecticut Supreme Court ruling, which requires prosecutors to justify high bond amounts when defendants present evidence of their financial status. In Pan's case, even that ruling didn't sway the outcome. He remained behind bars awaiting trial.
$20 million. And while the court documents remain sealed tonight and we don't know a motive yet from the authorities, we can tell you, according to prosecutors at that hearing today, the suspect was found in Alabama renting an apartment under a fake name with $19,000 cash on him, 7 cell phones, several SIM cards, and his father's passport. Authorities say he is dangerous and an international flight risk.
Pan challenged the ruling, petitioning the Connecticut Supreme Court to consider the bond unconstitutional and excessive. His legal team argued that he had no real access to international networks, that his financial resources were overstated, and that his bail far exceeded what was typical in comparable murder cases. He also offered to remain in Connecticut under electronic monitoring or house arrest if released. The Supreme Court ordered a detailed explanation from the lower court, requesting it outline precisely how it weighed the legal factors involved, such as public safety and flight risk. In July 2021, the trial court reaffirmed the decision. It cited the seriousness of the charge, the strength of the state's case, Pan's lack of ties to Connecticut, the help he had received from his family while evading capture, and his mental health status. Ultimately, the bond was upheld. The court concluded that the $20 million was necessary to ensure Pan's appearance in court and to protect the public. The Connecticut Supreme Court stepped in, ordering the lower court to provide a detailed explanation of its bond decision. Judges were asked to clearly outline how they weighed key legal factors, such as public safety, flight risk, and the strength of the case. As the legal proceedings continued, new questions emerged, not about guilt, but about mental fitness. Nearly 2 years after Kevin Jiang's murder, Ching-Xuan Pan was officially deemed competent to stand trial. His attorney, Norm Pattis, had first requested a mental competency exam in September, after struggling to communicate with his client. At the time, he told Judge John Alander that Pan was a communicative challenge and couldn't provide clear answers. The court approved the evaluation, which involved a review by state-appointed psychiatrists. Judge Gerald Harmon reviewed the results and ruled that Pan was mentally fit for trial. On November 2nd, state-appointed mental health experts filed their sealed assessment. By early December, the court ruled that Pan was competent. The path to trial could finally continue. For Jiang's family and friends, each delay deepened the heartache. They packed the courtroom in September, expecting the probable cause hearing to proceed. Instead, it was put on hold again, this time for a competency review. Pan's case, already delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, entered a long pre-trial phase marked by legal complexity and intense public scrutiny. Held without bond, Pan and his attorneys requested multiple continuances to review evidence. At one point, his defense claimed he lacked adequate access to legal materials in the prison library. On December 6th and 8th, 2022, the long-awaited probable cause hearings for Ching-Xuan Pan began. Prosecutors aimed to convince the court there was enough evidence to move forward with a full criminal trial for the murder of Kevin Jiang. Witnesses took the stand individually, painting a chilling picture of the night of February 6, 2021. Among them was Nicole, a neighbor who testified she saw the shooting from her window. She described a man firing shots at Kevin, then calmly getting into the driver's seat of a dark SUV with tinted windows and driving away. "It replays in my head almost daily," she told the court. Prosecutors also played footage from a neighbor's outward-facing security camera. The video captured a dark SUV rear-ending Jiang's car. Hazard lights flick on, Kevin steps out, and then a burst of gunfire. The SUV pulls away moments later. Back in court, a tow truck driver recalled Pan's intense fixation on retrieving his belongings from the SUV, bags he later recognized as the ones dumped near Arby's. He described Pan as overly polite, but insistent, even repeatedly climbing onto the truck bed despite being told not to. With testimony from 5 witnesses, physical evidence, and hours of video footage submitted, Judge John Allender ruled there was sufficient probable cause to proceed with the criminal case. 2 days later, Ching-Xuan Pan entered a plea of not guilty. In April 2023, Pan's legal representation shifted. Public defender Molly Arabolos was appointed to replace his private defense team. Over the following months, the state prepared its case, ultimately assembling what officials described as overwhelming evidence. On February 27, 2024, more than 3 years after Kevin Jiang's death.
New this morning, sentencing now set for April 25th in the shocking murder of a Yale graduate student back in 2021. 32-year-old Ching-Xuan Pan pleaded guilty yesterday, faces 35 years in prison. 3 years ago, he ambushed, shot, and killed Yale grad student Kevin Jiang a few blocks from the New Haven campus. Pan fled Connecticut and was captured 97 days later in Alabama. The victim had recently become engaged, and investigators believe romantic jealousy was the motive.
Pan changed his plea to guilty. Under the terms of the agreement, he accepted a 35-year prison sentence with no possibility of parole or probation.
The man who killed a Yale graduate student in 2021 will spend the next 35 years in prison. That's the sentence handed down today in New Haven Superior Court.
NBC Connecticut's Kevin Geis was in the courtroom and has the latest.
3 years have passed and a T-shirt still hangs in the intersection that Kevin Jiang was killed. His family packed a New Haven courtroom today to express their frustration, anger, and sadness with his killer. They also had the chance to hear from the killer himself.
We can only hope that you, sir, will learn from this while you're incarcerated. It is a horrible, devious act that has occurred.
Despite the plea, the prosecution never disclosed a clear motive. But for many involved, the sheer weight of the evidence had closed any path forward for the defense. Pan's parents, despite strong suspicions about their involvement in helping him evade capture, were never formally charged. To this day, investigators believe the case might have gone unsolved, if not for one critical misstep. The night Pan drove onto the snow-covered railroad tracks. The arrest relieved investigators and Kevin's friends and family, but it couldn't erase the loss. At the sentencing, Kevin Jiang's mother addressed the court directly. Through heartbreak, she spoke of her only son and the future he had been building. For her, justice felt incomplete. "I am left alone in this world. I will never see Kevin smile again."
I am left alone by myself. In this world, I will never see Kevin smile again.
She believed that 35 years wasn't nearly enough for the man who had taken Kevin's life. Kevin's fiancée, Zion Perry, also addressed the court, delivering a powerful victim impact statement that spoke volumes about the pain they endured.
It was my great privilege to know Kevin. He was a man of valor and a man of honor and would have made a wonderful husband and father, and his blood cries out from the ground.
Pan accepted his penalties in court before the sentence came down, expressing remorse.
I feel sorry for what my actions caused, and for everyone affected, and for all these communities impacted.
At the sentencing, Zion Perry also spoke, addressing the man who had upended her life. "I wanted to address Pan specifically," she said. "Although your sentence is far less than you deserve, there is also mercy. May God have mercy on you, and may He have mercy on all of us."
Specifically, although your sentence is far less than you deserve, there is also mercy. May God have mercy on you, and may He have mercy on all of us.
Kevin Jiang's life was marked by service, compassion, and unwavering faith. Though his time was cut short, his legacy endures. In the lives he touched, the community he uplifted, and the love that still speaks his name. Even in the face of unimaginable pain, those who knew him chose grace over hatred. And in that choice, Kevin's spirit lives on. Kevin Jiang's murder was cold, calculated, and left a community searching for answers. But the next case takes us into an even stranger world. A deadly plot hidden behind a business, a marriage, and a room full of snakes. Click on the next video to uncover the twisted story of Ben Rennick and the betrayal that shocked everyone who knew him.